Sad news out of baseball on Monday, where Hall of Famer Ryne Sandberg has died at the age of 65. He was diagnosed with metastatic prostate cancer in January of 2024 and had been undergoing treatment for the past year and a half. He was best known for his 15 years with the Cubs, where he was a 10-time All-Star, 9-time Gold Glove winner at second base, and the 1984 NL MVP. A fan favorite throughout his career in Chicago, the Cubs retired as number 23 in 2005, the same year he was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. In 2024, a statue was dedicated in his honor outside of Wrigley Field. Ryne Sandberg was 65 years old. And for more, we welcome in former Marlins president and CBS Sports HQ baseball analyst David Samson. And David, I got to come to you at first, just getting your initial reaction just to hearing this news of a Hall of Famer.
It just happened so quickly, and the Hall of Fame induction was yesterday, and there was talk, Sandberg wasn't there and he wasn't doing well, and I don't think anyone realized that he was going to pass so imminently. And you just think back to what his career was and what he meant to the Cubs organization, what he meant to the game of baseball, playing a position that was not well known for offense. And Ryne Sandberg was just unbelievable on both sides of the ball. And then he ended up managing in our division in the NL East. And he spent time in Marlins Park. I spent time with him in the manager's office, the visiting manager's office. And he ended up resigning from that position when his team was in last place and not doing well. But he never lost the ability to believe that he could make a difference in the game, both on and off the field. And you just think about what he meant to Chicago and what he meant to the fans of Chicago, the seasons he had. And I don't mean one season. I'm talking about a decade. You just don't get your number retired and get a statue outside Wrigley Field if you are not iconic. And Ryne Sandberg, to me, is associated with the Cubs in a way that is unique to players. And I'll just mention one more thing that I think about with Ryne Sandberg is I worked with Andre Dawson, who ended up in the Hall of Fame. Andre Dawson was an Expo and a Cub and worked with me in the Marlins. Ryne Sandberg worked tirelessly. He loved Andre. He wanted Andre to be in the Hall of Fame. And he was so selfless off the field when the cameras weren't on. And he was always on, except people weren't watching all the time, and he was the same person. And it is... it's just a sad day for baseball, coming on the heels of a glorious Hall of Fame day.
Yeah, absolutely. When you hear about him, you just hear about how much he resonated with the fan base there for the Cubs. And you talked about how important he is to that franchise, but also you said how big he is just to the game of baseball. And for those who maybe didn't get to see Sandberg actually play, explain to us what kind of player he was.
Well, you have to realize that when you have a player that you have to worry about not just the fact that they field their position better than anyone in the game, but they hit for power, they hit for average, they have speed. We throw around the word five-tool like it's nothing, where all these players have five tools. You don't become a Hall of Famer. You have to be the best of the best, and you saw it with the 5 inductees yesterday. When Ryne Sandberg he was a Hall of Famer, and there's certain players, when they're playing, you say to yourself, this person is the best. And sometimes it sneaks up on you. Not with Ryne Sandberg. When he was playing in his career, you knew you were watching a Hall of Fame player, and then you watched him do it day after day after day, and that's what made him such a fan favorite. People in Chicago are obviously despondent, as they should be, and around baseball, because it's a life lost too young. 65 years old. It's hard to talk about, only in that you realize just how young that is to pass away, and the tragedy of prostate cancer. And he fought and he fought, and he shouldn't be remembered as the person who lost a battle to cancer. He should be remembered as a player and as a man and as a person who was not just great, but he defined greatness on and off the field, and that's pretty rare.
You talk about defining greatness on and off the field. I want to go back to the year 1990, because that was the year where he hit 40 home runs, and he became he was the third primary second baseman to be able to do that, hit that number. But that was not it. He also had 123 straight games without an error. When you look at a stat like that, just how difficult is that to do?
Well, I don't think people understand. To win the number of gold gloves, I don't have it off the top of my head. It could have been like a decade straight where he won the gold glove. And this is while he was, when he's at the plate, you assume that he's not going to make out. And in baseball, it's the opposite. It's a game of failure. But with Sandberg, you just expected that something good was going to happen, both when he was hitting and when he was fielding. And you talk about that level of talent at a position where you expect production from the corners. And what he did is give you production up the middle. And it used to be shortstop, second base, center field. You're looking for defense. You want to be strong up the middle. Catcher, second base, shortstop, center field. And what he started, in my view and in my career, is that you can expect production and actually want production out of second base. But of course, no one could produce like Sandberg did.
David, you did have the chance to go up against him when he managed the Phillies from 2013 through 15. You got to give me a memory that just comes to mind when you think of Ryne Sandberg.
So as president of the team, it was my job at Marlins Park. One of the many things I did is I would make sure that opposing team managers were okay. Did they have everything they needed? A great clubhouse manager and someone named Rock Hughes. But you're always making sure that people are taken care of. But when the first pitch comes, you're trying to beat that team. And what I remember is the Phillies at that point, they'd gone past sort of the World Series time, and they were not that particularly good under Ryne Sandberg. But the fact is, whenever they came to town, and the thought was, wow, if any players are listening to him, they're going to become better, and then they've got a chance to beat us. And what I remember is being in the visiting manager's office, thinking to myself, I'm sitting across from a Hall of Fame player who's now managing, and I can't remember another one other than Frank Robinson. It's not super common for a Hall of Famer these days to be a manager, and to be a Hall of Fame player becomes a manager, and you're sitting across thinking to yourself, I'm president of the Marlins. I want to beat this man so badly. But I grew up thinking this man was the single best player at a position, and I want to beat him. And I just remember those thoughts, and just watching people in and out of the manager's office of the opposing team. You come across a lot of people, but there was an aura of Ryne Sandberg. When you are, when you're in Chicago and you're a Cub and you are the person who is revered in Chicago, and that's what Andre Dawson was, who I'd spent a decade with starting in 2002. And it was Dawson, it was Sandberg. That's pretty much it. You just realize that you're honored to be a part of it. Of course, though, we wanted to beat him every time.
Absolutely. But you just go back to, like you said, his aura and how important of a fixture he was for those Cubs fans. Gone way too soon, as you said. It's 65 years young. As always, David Samson, thank you so much for stopping by with the memories and honoring the person and the player that Ryne Sandberg was. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Ryne Sandberg, gone too soon. Baseball mourning the loss following his battle with cancer, passing away at the age of 65. We'll have more HQ on the other side.